3 games in the last, 3 games in his last 3 games. Sorry, 3 goals in his last 3 games. 4 goal contributions in his last 4 games. It's 4 in 5 for Aubameyang. He's looking really good. And I think, as you already alluded to, Mason Mount as well. Another assist tonight for him, but another very good performance as well. And he really needed it, Mount.
Well, it was just a couple of weeks ago where I forget who it was, but we were on maybe one of the top 6 shows, and there were some Chelsea fans that had all but written him off, and said that he wasn't a very good player, and he would never be that good for Chelsea, and he needed to kind of be a squad player. And I just thought it was just too soon. Like, some players go through bad patches, that's just how it goes. And everybody was suffering under Tuchel. When everybody is playing poorly, it's hard to just pick out one player and say that it's on them. And Mount has always been a very good player. Is he world class or anything like that? We have to wait on those things. But he's, by all accounts, been very creative. Always had an eye for goal. Yeah. And I think he looks really bright and rejuvenated under Graham Potter.
Yeah, most definitely. We had a little issue here with my computer in front of me. I'm not too sure what happened. I think it might have just crashed, but we're still live because Javern's computer is okay. I agree with the Mason Mount thing. I think from my point of view, I kind of look at him as a player who I understood the criticism he was getting.
Yeah.
And I said a few weeks ago, maybe I got a little bit too ahead of myself when it comes to the praise of him and whatever else a little while back. But actually, I'm glad to see a player work hard. I'm glad to see a player put the elbow grease in. I'm glad to see a player, fight for what he wants, fight to try and get to where, to where he wants to be. And he's really working hard to get back into this Chelsea team. And I think that Chelsea is making so many changes. New players that are being bought well ahead of time. There's obviously situations with, technical directors, a new manager, new system, new style. And it's almost a case of, well, if you don't kind of get your head down and work hard, you're going to be out the door. Mm-hmm. And I think that message is really worming its way into the dressing room. And it's a very positive thing to have kind of become part of your football club, that you have to work hard, you have to grind, and you're not just going to get picked. Because maybe, just maybe, and I think why some Chelsea fans were willing to write him off so easy was because he was a little bit of a teacher's pet. He always got picked no matter what was going on. And maybe now they're saying, well, maybe Graham Potter's going to be different and you're going to play a meritocracy as opposed to being a Cobham boy, which, I know we all want our academy players to do well. You've got Saka, we've got Rashford, but I know you love Arsenal and I love Man United more than we love the players. And I'm sure most Chelsea fans feel exactly the same.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to just touch on as well is Graham Potter's team management and how he's managed the going in between the Premier League, getting those points and making sure he also gets the points in Europe. They have a very big squad, and I'm not sure it was being used in the same way. He had almost a completely different team, not completely, but there's players that came in during the week, or on the weekend and played in the Premier League. They got the 3-0 win pretty easily. And then he's now played the team with Aubameyang in the Champions League. And it seems like everybody's happy. Graham Potter, he hasn't coached in the Champions League, but he seems to already kind of know how to manage a big squad, and he seems like he has buy-in from some big players. That's big for somebody that doesn't really have that level of
experience. But I think it's interpersonal skills, and sometimes I think we as fans are naive to who is rated within football and who isn't. Man United fans have got this habit of saying, "Oh, what's Darren Fletcher doing in there?" Most people in football that talk about him go, the guy knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. But we have this habit of if somebody's face doesn't fit, it might be the haircut isn't right. I mean, Graham Potter's changed a little bit. He's got a bit of a fade. He's dressing nicer now. And maybe those things kind of help. But I think the players aren't stupid. They're going to hear right away. And Todd Bowley's laid the law down. Todd Bowley's told them, this ain't the old Chelsea. You guys don't get to throw managers out anymore. Ownership is key. The owners allow the players to know that the manager is in charge. It doesn't matter what you think because you're not in power anymore. And clubs look what's going on at PSG at the minute. They've got a player in power who's angry because Messi's become more powerful than him. Neither should have power. Neither should have power, like that degree of power. The club, the owners, the fans, that's where the power should be, not with the players. The players are compensated enough to not have power. Like what you get paid is why you don't get power. Having the doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me. My guy here, Juan, says Champions League for Chelsea again. Good. Do you know he says? That's what I was going to say to you. Graham Potter. It may be a bit of a joke, but I heard that Graham Potter said that he's never even been to a Champions League game, let alone managed one before he managed in it. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But Chelsea could win it. Chelsea are probably not in the top 5 favorites, but they could win it. They're not. If they get back to a point where they don't concede goals, of course Chelsea can win it. Will they? I don't think so. But could they win it? Of course. Chelsea will win the Champions League. Say it with chest is what man like Jafar says here. Terry, is it still a new manager bounce? Wait for City. You can't just judge how good Graham Potter is or isn't by his performances against City. Surely you've got to be a bit more open-minded than just if he beats City then he's good. Surely.
Well, I mean, I do think it's an interesting argument just to say like, you know, Chelsea, it could be something that let's see how long, like let's give it some more time to see, because they are going to play some more difficult games. Like I was looking at their schedule. I was like, okay, so I think they have to play Man United, then they're going to play Arsenal. You know, things will get a little bit more difficult, and we'll see how this Potter ball stands up to teams that are playing well, because I don't think this AC Milan team is playing that well at the moment either.
Dead.
Exactly. So
dead.
It's not to take anything away from Chelsea and what they're doing right now. I'm just saying that like it might take a little bit longer to see if it's a new manager bounce, but if I had to, you know, put money on it now, I would say I don't think it's a new manager bounce. I think I've seen enough from Graham Potter, and I think there's enough quality there that it's probably just something that's going to naturally be good.
Yeah. No, I agree. Game's gone, never a pen. Game's gone. It's always been a penalty that's never been given before. Potter isn't here to mess about. No, he isn't. How's Potter schooling these Champions League managers? Because he's good enough. It's interesting. There's a fighter in the UFC at the minute called Michael Chandler. And he was smashing it up in Bellator, which is a different association within MMA. And there's a lot of people that had this impression that if you're a Bellator fighter, you're not of the standard of UFC fighters. When you speak to experts on MMA, that isn't the case. There's lots of Bellator fighters that are good enough for the UFC, but they're paid a lot by Bellator, so they don't move across. Michael Chandler, he has lost a couple of fights in the UFC, but they've been kind of close within the fights, and he's stepped up without ever having fought in there before. And he's gone in pretty much all these fights, barring one against Dan Hooker, have been against like elite level opponents. And sometimes you're just good enough without the experience. And Graham Potter has managed multiple levels. He's earned his skin in the game. He's earned his respect in the game, and he's a good enough manager. And I'm really happy to see him given an opportunity and a chance for multiple reasons. And one day he might be good enough, hopefully, to manage England and make us win some things and play good football. So there's a vested interest there. But he seems like a nice, humble, down-to-earth individual. Doesn't take himself too seriously publicly, but I bet behind the scenes he's an absolute meticulous individual. So yeah, very, very, very happy to see him doing that.